Hi guys, and thank you for watching another episode of the Kevin Moore Show. Now this interview is going to be a bit two-way between myself and CW, so we're both going to be interviewing each other. This initial interview took place on CW's channel a number of weeks ago, and he's already posted this content on his, and now it's my turn to do the same. And we had a really fascinating conversation about mainly about the Mark Richards docuseries. We get to hear some of CW's story as well. CW is on the Mark Richards docuseries, and I do intend to get CW back in the future because I'll be launching a podcast for the Mark Richards docuseries, and anyone that had anything to do with the podcast, well, the Mark Richards docuseries, will come on the podcast. So I also want to say as well that because all the links to CW's social media are in the description below, please go and send some love to CW. Do subscribe to his YouTube channel. Let's subscribe to CW's YouTube channel. Show him some love from the Kevin Moore Show. And I know he will really appreciate that. He's got a lot of things that he's going to discuss in the first part about his journey, which are really important, I think, to, see where he is now and see if we can support him in any way that we can with currently what he's going through. So I will be getting him back on in the future. Like I say, this is the first of many updates on the Captain Mark Richards docuseries. That's just a working title right now. Whether it'll be called that in the future, we'll see. So just enjoy this interview with C.W Chanter and myself, and thank you for watching.
Okay, step one, we're live. Now as I introduce you, I'm gonna go to my YouTube channel so we can tweet out this link. Yo, my friend Kevin, we know each other for fucking years, man. I don't want to curse because I know you got your so here's the plan. Me and Kevin are gonna talk. Kevin has his own YouTube channel, The Kevin Moore Show. Link in the description box below. Me and Kevin have known each other for years, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna have basically, this is not an interview format. Me and him are gonna talk. It's gonna be a little bit like I'm interviewing him, a little bit like he's interviewing me. The point of this video is to try and get Kevin introduced to my channel and my community over here. Then when we're done here, a couple of days from now, whenever we can, Kevin's going to upload it to his channel so that people can get a taste of the old CW action, see if it's to their liking. Me and Kevin are a little bit similar to each other. We're both involved in the spiritual community and the spiritual movements. We're both very interested in knowing and understanding, metaphysics, mysticism, spirituality. But at the same time, we have both identified serious problems with many of the players in that community. Okay. So Kevin, bear with me as I go over to my YouTube channel to so strategically and professionally tweet out this link. So here we go. So I go over here. Be muted real quick. And folks, if you think the shenanigans are funny, now you should have seen me and Kevin before this show. We are officially the gang that couldn't shoot straight. Okay. Let me give you some background information before we get to anything, because I think that this matters, and I think this is endearing, but I really think that it matters, because what we're going to share with you is the reality of us being real people, okay? And you can juxtapose that against the outlandish claims of some of the people in this community who do their best to present themselves as so much more than human, a divine, tri-souled, starseed, enlightened mysticism master, whatever the case may be. We'll be completely honest with you because, well, first of all, there's no point in trying to BS you. At this point in the evening, based on what we were planning and based on how it unfolded, we are officially, like I said, the gang who couldn't shoot straight. So the way that this interview started is you have to know and realize that me and Kevin have been planning this for about a week. And so for about a week, we've both been saying to each other, okay, July 14th, 7 o'clock. July 14th, 7 o'clock. We're locked in. July 14th, 7 o'clock. All right, yesterday. July 14th, tomorrow, 7 o'clock. That's right, homie. July 14th, 7 o'clock. We're doing this shit. Right? Cut to 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, where I'm basically like texting Kevin, like, yo, where are you? He's like, don't worry, I'll be ready at 7. I'm like, it's 7:15. And we both realized that we settled on 7 o'clock, but we hadn't established which time zone.
That's why
That'll
we need a
tell you
producer, bro.
exactly.
We need a producer. Both of us do, man.
Oh my God. We need a producer, a personal
Oh,
assistant,
that'd be nice. Yeah,
a
editor.
couple of therapists, and a
Yeah,
minder.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like somebody called the cabal. There's two wild, crazy people on the chessboard without a handler. You know what I mean? Our handler took a snooze behind the friggin' Illuminati 8-ball on this one. And then you get to right now, where we basically, right before, we're like, okay, finally, we're going to do this. You know, I turned my first stream into a pre-show. We're here. Then we're trying to figure out how to share audio-visual information with you. Bearing in mind that I've been on YouTube since 2015, that's going on 6 years, and Kevin is a film director and editor, and both of us together could not figure anything out until we finally said, you know what, forget about it. I'll improvise a hand puppet out of a paper bag here. We'll paint a half moon bald patch on him, and we'll call that guy Simon. You know what I mean? I got googly eyes around here somewhere.
Yeah, I think this is going to work fine. Don't worry. It's good.
It'll work fine. It's already working fine. It's already working fine. So how do we find ourselves into the conversation? Because I think once we get rolling, we'll be fine.
Well, I think because this is going to go on both our channels, I think for my channel, it'd just be nice, just for you to sort of just give us a bit of background on yourself. And then, let's just have a conversation, because I think we're going to mainly stick with, some of the research that you've been doing on Simon, some of the stuff that I've been doing, because I know we can talk about, why we're at that stage. Obviously, I know you want to talk about the Mark Richards docuseries that is about to go back into production as well. But let's just start with yourself, CW. How did you start in this field? Obviously you've had your YouTube channel for many years right now, but what was the sort of what was the drive to get you to start doing the YouTube stuff? Because I don't believe that it was actually the content that you're making now was actually what you set out to do originally.
Not at all, my friend. Not at all, my friend. It's a story that I've told my channel many times, and I'll share with you guys. I had been watching YouTube for years, and it's my interest in the content on YouTube dovetailed and was reflective of my interest in life. I was interested in spirituality, faith, new religious movements, cults, gurus. I had been through a journey myself. I had been involved in Scientology, the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, the Church of Satan. I had been all over the place and done a whole bunch of different things. And my life at that point that I started YouTube had culminated with me, after years and years and years of searching for a faith and a religion and a practice that I could join and would work for me, didn't find one that didn't involve huge amounts of cognitive dissonance, didn't involve me potentially having to agree to a whole bunch of stuff stuff I didn't agree with. So rather than banging my head against the wall and trying to turn, stuff this square peg into innumerable round holes, I sat down and basically reflected on and took all the things that I had learned from the various faiths that I had been involved with and studied and turned them into a faith and a practice for me called Commonwealth chanting. Having formulated Commonwealth chanting, I said to myself, this is something I would like to share with the world. Not to be a guru, not to be a teacher, but just basically present a kind of open source faith and practice that you could get, and it could be simply understood and simply communicated, that wouldn't be so long or not malleable or changeable over time. So as a person would join in year one, and then by year two, find themselves on a completely different trip with a completely different organization. It's set in stone. It's simple. There's a basic PDF that runs to just 11 pages that lays it all out. I can tell people about it in about 20 to 30 minutes. And there's several videos on my YouTube channel that do just that if people are curious. So on right around my 40th birthday, as a 40th birthday present to myself, I say, after years of watching YouTube, I'm going to get involved.
Right.
And I do get involved, and I make an introductory video that's hello, I'm C.W Chanter, very pleased to meet you, yada, yada. Here's my faith. Here's my spiritual journey. Here's what I want to talk about. Here's what I want to discuss. Very love and light, very even tempered and cool and copacetic. And you know what happens is the reality of you comes out. And no matter how you try to formulate or mediate or sell an image that's not you, you's going to come out. And you definitely came out with me. I quickly learned and realized that despite the fact that I saw all these people saying all these nonsensical and ridiculous things, they were getting tons and tons of views, and I was getting none. And honestly, I had a very visceral, male, shadow, dark reaction to that. I got pissed off. Everyone's paying attention to these guys. No one's paying attention to me. What the heck? So there was a guy at the time called Shane the Ruiner, and he was writing something called the Ruiner blog that was like the toast of the town over at the Project Avalon forum that I'm sure we'll end up discussing and talking about. And he was being lauded, and I could say this is, and I said to myself, this is ridiculous. I'm saying tons and tons of good stuff, and I can get no traction. And this guy is selling the craziest, zaniest, X-Files meets Tom and Jerry stuff you'd ever want to hear, and he's knocking it out of the park. So I made my first kind of debunking video, if you want to call that, or criticism video. And that soon quickly became the type of videos that I became famous for. I did a couple on Shane the Ruiner. Shane the Ruiner, to his credit, did come on my channel to talk to me. That was very good. And you know what? Shane had an adversary, a man by the name of Corey Good, who did not like Shane, probably because he was, I speculate, competition for him in the world of the Project Avalon forum and this new burgeoning world of conspiracy theories / new age, whatever you want to call it. And Corey Good actually commented on my Shane the Ruiner video and said, good for you, taking down Shane a peg. I'm sure you wouldn't believe me, but good for you for taking down Shane. And then I met Shane and I talked to Shane. And like I said, Shane came on my channel and I thought to myself, who's this other guy who's got a story that I wouldn't believe, but is giving me kudos and praise for talking about Shane? And it was Corey Good. And right about the time I started criticizing and critiquing and analyzing what I think is the malarkey story of Corey Good's star started to ascend. He became associated with David Wilcock. David Wilcock brought him onto Gaia TV, where it seemed the sky was the limit for our friend Mr. Good. He went on, he did the Conscious Life Expos, he did the Contact in the Deserts, he did the whole tour. He appeared up with Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, and he was very much in the ascendancy as I critiqued and criticized him. There was a falling out with David Wilcock and Gaia and Corey Good. They went their own way, and they soon found their way onto a channel called Edge of Wonder that we did research and discovered was a wholly owned subsidiary of a religious organization known as Falun Gong, that was run by a religious guru who was an extreme right-wing, anti-China, pro-Trump guy. And that channel soon became, a mouthpiece for I call it Buanon, because unfortunately with Google, if you say the magic letter, you could end up running into all sorts of problems. But I think people know what I'm talking about. And so we've weathered all sorts of storms, and I've had the opportunity to merge the criticism with the spirituality and basically, keep my feet on both sides of the goalpost as best I can, though that's not easy to do. People have questions and concerns about my allegiances. Sometimes people like this sort of material, not this material, but it is what it is. In addition to all of that, it should be known that I've got over $15,000 in attorney's fees because Corey Good sued me. The lawsuit is still pending. We have a motion for summary judgment based on jurisdiction to get me out. It's a frivolous lawsuit. I believe it's fairly characterized as a frivolous lawsuit brought against me because I had the audacity to say, you know what? This story just doesn't make sense. And if you think about it logically and rationally, even assuming the existence of blue avians, even accepting the existence of a secret space program, even accepting the existence of a intensely spiritual, enlightened race of people who live inside the center of the earth. Assuming all of those things to be true, still, this man's tale of who he is, where he works in that system, how he works in that system, and his experiences in that system simply don't make sense.
Right. Let
Right.
me just ask you as well. So, is it a defamatory case, that one mainly, or can you say, or?
He's actually the allegation is specifically RICO. RICO is a statute set up in America to go after gangsters and basically make sure that guys like Al Capone and Meyer Lansky, who remained X number of steps removed from the insurance arson or the murder or the, casinos or the
Interesting.
illegal gambling or the prostitution or the drugs, couldn't stay away from, you know, uh, persecution and prosecution by the state. So he's alleging that I'm involved in a vast criminal enterprise.
Hmm.
And the evidence for this is the fact that I've appeared on different YouTube channels with different YouTube content creators who agree with me that Corey Good is probably full of malarkey. And of course, I apparently thinking that individual X is full of malarkey and saying so, despite the fact that he holds himself forward as a public speaker, despite the fact that his own website identifies him as a modern day Enoch. Enoch, like from the Apocryphal Bible, that he shouldn't be, criticized or critiqued, despite the fact that he has videos of his and on various channels that claim hundreds of thousands of views, despite the fact that he's been on the History Channel or History Channel 2, despite the fact that he was on Gaia, a private but subscriber based cable company that broadcasts, via the internet and other mediums around the world. And my take on it is very simple. You can criticize Donald Trump because he's a public figure. You can criticize various right wing and left wing pundits if they are on the radio. You can criticize Alex Jones because he's a public figure. The fact of the matter is, under the principles of fair use, the analysis and discussion about guys like Corey Good and Simon Parks is absolutely fair and allowable under the law, and as it should be. Because to say the otherwise is to say that the guys like Corey Good and Simon Parks can sell their tail to gullible people, collect money, collect donations, do various things, and suffer no repercussions, and not even repercussions, suffer no discussion within the free marketplace of ideas. I think that's anathema to not only the U.S. Constitution, the U.S. Code of Laws, internationally, the rules of the European Union, as well as people can subscribe to this concept called natural law. I believe that if you believe in spiritual enlightened principles, that one of those principles is free and open communication.
Okay.
And that nobody should be prevented from speaking their mind, even if it's a critique or a criticism, by a lawsuit.
Yeah, but when does that cross a line between defamatory and what you've kind of explained there? Because obviously we should just say as well, your background is in law. What law do you do right now as well? Just so
I'm involved principally in personal injury and workers' compensation. There are people that identify their being a lawyer as kind of being their identity. Me being a lawyer is just like someone else being a truck driver or someone else digging ditches. It is simply what I do for a living to feed myself and feed my children.
Okay.
And to take it, and keep gas in the tank, as it were.
Yeah. So
honestly, you know what I mean? So it really is, like I tell people, like, because in this community, people hear the word lawyer, and I can't say I blame them. I mean, there's more lawyer jokes than there are dentist jokes, and those guys cause actually physical pain. I understand that people have a low opinion of the law and lawyers, and I just want to say that if that's the bag you're going to put me on, you should probably get to know me first, because it's not what I'm about. It's not what I'm about.
Okay, and just very briefly as well, you've got a donation link as well for people that want to support you in legal fees. Have you actually raised the money right now that you need to represent yourself with a lawyer?
No, I mean, like I said, I do have an attorney representing me, and I've paid my own bills up to this point. I've got over $15,000 in attorney's fees that I've paid. Here's my point. I do have a Patreon to support my YouTube channel. I do have a PayPal to support me in my YouTube content creation. I do let people know that if you like my YouTube content, know and understand, and especially if you like what I do with the criticism of certain people, know and understand that that criticism has come at great expense to me. So my attitude about it is this, is that if you want to support me financially, and just know and understand that one of your motivations to support me financially is the fact that, yeah, I got over $15,000 in attorney's fees, which is a number that might go up.
Okay, so I'll put those links in the description below for when this
Sure.
video goes on my channel as well, and I'll make sure they're there along with all your bio
Right.
information as well. How comes you didn't
But
represent yourself as
sorry,
well?
let me just say one thing before we leave that topic, and I apologize for cutting you off. You know, Kevin, one of these days I'm going to break even. You know, that's my attitude about it. If I make $50 a month in PayPal donations, and it's going to be a long time, but eventually, come hell or high water, long after this lawsuit's a memory, I'm still going to be C.W. Chanter. He's still going to be Corey Good, and I'm going to break even.
Yeah.
And that's all I care about.
No, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what
I
I
mean,
mean?
look, as long as
Sorry to interrupt, but I just
no,
wanted to get that out.
as long as you're surviving right now, and I know you've got a lot going on.
Yeah,
You've got a family in the background. There's all sorts, you know, work and
sure.
everything else. You know, this is more of a hobby, and I guess right now in the present moment, this is the direction your work's gone. If you were to sum it up in sort of a one-liner, then you know what is it that you do? Because I see you. I mean, you kind of class yourself as an atheist. This is going to be a long question. You kind of class yourself as
Sure.
an atheist, but there is that spiritual side to you as well. So, I mean, the kind of content you're making now, how could you quickly sum that up?
You know, it's difficult because what my content basically is me at this point. We turn on the webcam, and at any moment, I might be analyzing and discussing a video by Mr. Good or Mr. Wilcock or Mr. Parks.
Hmm.
I may be holding forth and talking about my views and thoughts and ideas about music and the arts. I might just be yucking it up with the live chat. I may be talking about my spiritual journey and my spiritual experiences. We never really know. We turn the webcam on, and C.W. Chanter is C.W. Chanter. The live chat interacts.
Yeah.
We've friends and family over the years as I've run this channel, and we move through time and space together. And that's the best I could sum up, is to say this: we exist naturally, as naturally as we can. I try to be as transparent as I can. I try not to be artificial, mediated, or try and do anything to make the channel views go up or the channel views go down or to increase subscriptions or to do this. You don't get any editing. You don't get any bells and whistles. You get me talking, sometimes by myself, sometimes with friends, and we move forward through space and time.
So, can I ask you just a bit of a left field question? So, how comes you didn't
Sure.
represent yourself in the court case? Why did you not feel confident enough to, go to court yourself?
Well, it's a state in which I don't practice, and therefore it's a state in which I'm not familiar. Here's to understand this. My principal case, we are not making any arguments in my case that is based or predicated upon the claims brought against me.
Right.
Our arguments at this point are solely factored and centered on the issue of jurisdiction. For years, Mr. Good has been threatening to sue me, and for years I said to him, that's fine. I practice in New Jersey. I live in New Jersey. I said, you want to sue me? Find an attorney in New Jersey, file a lawsuit against me in this court with jurisdiction against me, and have at it. We'll have our debate. And I was more than willing to represent myself where I practice law, with laws and rules that I'm familiar with. He chose to sue me in another state entirely. Arguments can be made about why he sued me in that state. Quite frankly, it's a dangerous thing to talk about because him and his legal team of his lawyer like to say that whatever I do or say about this subject, they want to turn into another, court filing and say something about it. But he sued me in a state where I've never been. I've never conducted any business. And their argument why jurisdiction should be there against me is somehow that the damages that I did were felt there. But of course, there shouldn't really be any damages because Mr. Good is claiming that he's a success, that he's doing successful lectures, that he's got a TV series or a movie series coming out, that he's been part of different successful movies, that he's got graphic novels coming out. So I don't know what he's talking about damages. And I never talked about him in the state where he sued me. I never talked about him or said to people in his state, you people in his state, should know he's a dick. I never said any of that. All I said was he would make a public statement, either a public statement on his website, a public statement on Facebook or Twitter or on social media, or he would make a YouTube interview. And those were the classic things that I would analyze. I would watch his videos, I would take notes, and I would simply ask the audience questions. Does this make sense? Here he says and makes this claim. Even assuming, like I said, that the aliens are in Antarctica and they care and they want to communicate something. Why communicate through just one person? Why not tell the world? And of all the people to contact and communicate through, why this guy? Why this one individual? It doesn't make sense. And so much of his story didn't make sense. And that's all I essentially said. Now, I will concede that over time it did become personal. He would make tweets alleging that I was under investigation by the FBI in New Jersey. He would make tweets alleging that I was going to be disbarred in the state of New Jersey, say various disparaging things. And were social media actions that are alleged to have been linked to him involving actual attempts to, defame not only me, but other content creators, like a guy named Joe from the Carolinas, another guy named Cliff Hyde, Jay Widener, and several of the people that he's brought lawsuits against. And what can I tell you? So under those circumstances, I would oftentimes I would be insulting. This guy's stupid. This guy's a real jerk. You know what I mean?
Well,
and not maybe not in that kind of language. But hey, he's sold himself forward as a public figure. You're allowed to say that John Travolta's new movie sucks. You're allowed to say that Tom Cruise, is an immature jackass. You're allowed to give your opinion about other people, especially public figures. You are.
But when it becomes defamatory, I guess, when if you're going to say something that's not true, then there is a case there, I guess, and I guess he feels a bit like the victim, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? Because
no, he doesn't. I mean, I don't know. I can't. I wouldn't want to speculate about what's.
I'm just saying, look, he's got a right to feel like that as well. I think with doing when we look into people that, and we'll get into the reasons why that's taken place with me, and maybe that's a good way to just push this conversation forward, right? I think, and I said this to you before, when you're pointing one finger at a person, there's four pointing back at you. And I think, if we're going to go on that journey of calling people out and, bashing people in a sense, right? I think none of us have walked, have we, a perfect path in our life. I could easily go and look at my life, and it is not perfect one bit, right? But I think what you do, which I do like, is that you're trying to hold people accountable. There's a difference between bashing them and holding them accountable.
Yeah, and I hold people accountable. And the fact of the matter is, I understand what the principle that you're articulating, and it's a good principle and it's a guiding principle. But like any given golden rule, it has its potential abuses and it has its potential misunderstandings. The fact of the matter is that I've never once identified a person who has simply come forward and said, I believe in aliens, or I've been contacted by aliens, or believe that I've been abducted by aliens, or aliens gave me a special message in a dream. And I've never, singled one of those people out and said, you're an idiot. You should be mocked. You should be made fun of. I'm going to bash you. The only people that I've ever criticized and critiqued are people that clearly, whether it's the sole point of their mission or whether they're scamming or believe themselves or whatever the case may be, are doing some noticeable harm or potential harm to the community. And I disagree. And I understand where you're coming from. And I certainly can understand why someone in the audience might feel as though or characterize what I'm doing as quote unquote bashing.
No, I don't think you are.
However, I know. And some people say that, and I to those people, I simply say, I understand and appreciate, there's going to be different points of view about whether what I do is correct or proper, but to thine own self be true. I know what I'm doing. I know what my motivation is. My motivation is not to hurt I always say, even my videos where I talk about Corey Goode, even the videos where I talk about Simon Parks, David Wilcock, Miles Johnson's, Kerry Cassidy, whoever. When I end my videos, I say, to the audience, I say, I love you. If no one told you that they loved you today, somebody just did. That's somebody, C.W. Chanter. And I always make sure when I've had a video that talked about any individual in particular that I said the truth, which is that I love them too. My motivation when I talk about Corey is not to hurt Corey. I, in fact, love Corey Good. I love Corey Good. I love Simon Parks. I love David Wilcock. I love all these people. Lying and deceiving the public does not help anybody. When I call somebody out or make it difficult for them to lie, I am helping them, because it doesn't help them to say, go ahead, lie all you want to. Absolutely. Go build yourself up in your own brain. Believe that you're superhuman. Believe that you have a special ability, because people who can't handle that praise, by the time they get it, end up doing crazy things.
Oh yeah, it can only
But,
get yeah.
it goes to their head.
It
If
could only
you really
get
get out
only
there,
get
it
worse
can only get bad.
for some people. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of these people consciously and unconsciously do what they do. I think there's mental health issues. I mean, we all suffer from mental health
Certainly.
issues, right? But I think we're able to sort of self-center back in, and sort out whatever it is that's affecting us in the end, right? But some people can't, right? And
Sure.
and as you sort of mentioned there, and this is the space I'm coming from. I do believe, or maybe it's my truth, or whatever you want to call it, that we're a soul having a human experience. But that's just my way of saying it. I don't even know if it's that. It's the God knows what this is, but there's something more, right? So
Sure.
have we come here to have these experiences? And when people put themselves on stage as a spiritual teacher, then they are broken people, like we all are.
Mm.
If I think that's my point, that if we're going to some of us say, oh, that's wrong, or that person's terrible, or whatever it may be, they're just I'm going to expose them. Well, they are, what spiritual teacher out there is really without any issues? None.
Mm.
Absolutely zero. There are things in people's past that they would never want to talk about. Do you know what I mean? And
Sure.
there is faults and issues with all of them. After doing the show for as long as I have, I think it comes down to, in the end, it's your own personal journey, and all these people that come on that that you can have discussions with. Yes, it's helpful. It's nice to hear other people's opinion, but it's still that's got to live your life. Do you know what I mean? And I think it really is a personal journey. I don't think I've met one person on my journey that's got all the answers, or a grain of sand on an infinite beach of the answer. Do you know what I mean?
Right. No, listen, I part of what got me here is the notion of being taught to believe that there are people called enlightened masters or enlightened people. And this guru can, through the transmission of Shaktipat, through silent darshan of them, or through some sort of communication or teaching, is gonna turn the human seeker into the human who has found all the answers or is at peace. I don't know. I only can testify to the fact that I've never met anyone that I consider truly enlightened, whether it's meeting them in the flesh, talking to them in person, or seeing some sort of audio visual material, or some sort of lecture or speech. I Like you said, I believe that for the most part, people are people, human beings are human beings, and we remain so.
Yeah.
You asked me earlier about me characterizing myself as an atheist. Look, there's certain tenets of, Buddhist teachings and philosophies that involve no kind of creator spirit, or no real need for even a metaphysical or supernatural underpinning of the universe at all. There are other Buddhist teachings that are very similar to mainstream evangelical Christianity. If you say these words and believe in this Buddha, at the time of your death, you're going to wake up in a lotus flower on some sort of, infinite Buddha land. Who knows? I mean, we don't know. I remain a seeker, and I remain,
Well,
at journey.
absolutely. I mean, do you think then that maybe we shouldn't judge? Maybe we're here to just hold people accountable. I keep going to that, don't I? Who's going to, look, if, as I feel, that there is something greater, then maybe that something greater is going to judge them one day, or maybe it's themselves that are going to judge themselves whenever this
Yeah.
journey is over. You know,
Okay. Allow me, if you will, to take a contrary point of view.
sure.
For years, we find ourselves in 2012, basically, or 20, I'm sorry, 2021, alive in a world, that can generally be characterized in some ways as the new age. There's a history to that world. There's a history that goes back not only to the 1960s, but before that to Freemasonry and mystery schools and spiritualism and Swedenborg and Steiner and various schools, to say nothing of the UFO religions of the 1950s. For years in this community, there used to be a kind of a pat expression that says, "Well, that's not my truth, but if it resonates with you as your truth, then I accept it." And under that guise, a lot of people got pulled into a lot of dangerous organizations and cults.
Yep.
A lot of people got hurt, a lot of people got taken advantage of, and a lot of gurus got to do a lot of bizarre sexual practices to innocent people. Okay? So what I think is that I take the contrary point of view that there needs to be hygiene within the spiritual community. And though it may seem antithetical to the approach of love and light, we do have to hold people's feet to the fire. We do have to critique. We do have to discuss, because to fail to do so is to just basically, there's an old saying, in order for evil to triumph, all that is necessary is for good people to do nothing. And a lot of the people that we criticize, it's important to talk about the fact that if we say, okay, we're not going to criticize them, no one understands that many of the people that we've been discussing, so whose names have been broached, David Wilcock, Corey Good, Simon Parks, Miles Johnson, Kerry Cassidy, they are more than happy to criticize people and critique people, to say that identify certain people in the public as pedophiles or Satanists or part of some sort of satanic cabal, to say and pontificate on the notion that people are going to be subject to mass arrests, where their fundamental human rights under the Geneva Convention, by definition, will be violated and taken away, that private citizens will be put into court-martial systems. This might make sense to them if they're dummies, but if we don't criticize or critique, we allow the criticizers to have all the ammunition, and I think that that's dangerous. Though I understand and acknowledge that it's not an easy call to make. There's going to be differences of opinion, and there's going to be different levels of analysis as to, and look, we're talking about spiritual practices and principles. There are certain people whose spiritual practices and principles will be anathema to the concept of making it one's endeavor or any part of their project or spiritual practice to go after, critique, criticize, mock, or parody anyone else. And I accept that as a truism, that these people exist and have the right to their personal beliefs. Like I said, when I've calculated the equation, I've come to a different outcome, a different, sum. But that doesn't mean that my analysis is the analysis that holds, or the only analysis that's quote unquote the right one.
Like I say, with integrity, I think, there's no problem with holding someone accountable. And, if these people aren't coming from integrity, love, honesty, truth, do you know what I mean? And, that they should be, yeah, I think it's the right thing to do sometimes. But I guess, maybe, I say this maybe, there's such things as, some people are meant to cross people's path. What if these people were here to teach us discernment? Do you know what I mean? Not that we know that.
No, right. And we've talked about this, and I've thought about this actively. So we have this concept, look, we inherit concepts that have come before. And one of them is the notion of a soul family. The other notion is there's baked into a lot of the principles, Buddhist, Hindu, Jain, that this notion of the wheel of karma involves. I talk crap about Kevin Moore in Lifetime 1. Kevin Moore comes back in Lifetime 2 and talks crap about me, and we go back and forth like this. And that at some point, if I've murdered you on the fields of battle in Sparta, or you stole my wife and burnt down my wheat fields in 1802 Kentucky, that somehow we might find ourselves back on the debate platform.
Yeah.
Whether it's a political debate, whether it's a vying for ownership or or power in a given dynamic or system, and also fighting back and forth on YouTube. Believe you me, with the dynamic and the energy and where the fight between me and Corey Good
Yeah.
has brought both of us, I think both of us have serious questions that they need to ask each other and ask ourselves about, was it worth it? What's going on with you two? And why couldn't long ago these guys leave it be?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I
who knows? You
absolutely.
know what I mean? I think about it though.
Yeah.
If people talk about the concept of twin flames and always kind of think that, two gay guys are twin flames to each other, a gay guy, a straight guy and a straight gal are twin flames on this journey. And the fact of the matter is, I fully believe that your twin flame could be the guy in the gang war against you on the streets of LA as you shoot at him and he shoots at you.
Well, I think as well, if these people are affecting a lot of people's mental health issues as well, do you know what I mean?
Sure.
I think that's a time to maybe step in and do something. I would never have got involved with looking into Simon and other people that I'm getting back into production with if it wasn't for the docuseries that I'm working on. I don't think I would have
Sure.
done it. And now that I've got to see this docuseries through, which I'm about to go back into production with, I'm going to give it my best to do it. But I think from this time, I think before when I was doing it, I like yourself, I was taking it personally, and there was a lot of anger there. But I'm trying to move past that and just come from a different space right now with it. Not, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You learn things, right?
right,
It's an alchemical process.
yeah,
It becomes personal. Then if you're got your eyes open and are trying to be the best person you can be,
yeah,
that's going to show you're going to see some things about yourself. Like, believe you me, I saw YouTube has been an alchemical crucible. And I think that that's part of the thing that bonds us, and we can kind of, put the focus back on what you were saying about your docuseries. We both started off being like, I'm here, I'm going to do a YouTube channel, I'm going to do some sort of project to explore spirituality. And before we knew it, we found ourselves having to do things and think about things that were almost kind of counterintuitive to those high-minded
yeah.
spiritual
I
values.
think I just got burnt out. Do you know that? Um,
Mm,
doing the interviews that I started off with the pretense, I suppose, of being at uni and wanting to do a coast to coast type show, and
mm,
as the years went by, it was just, you know, I just felt like, how much of this is true that I'm putting out there? Is this what I'm
mm,
supposed to really be doing? Does it feel like in alignment? Do you know what I mean? Am I
I know
passionate
exactly
about
what you
it?
mean.
Um,
Sure.
and when the opportunity for the Mark Richards docuseries came up, I was like, oh yeah, this is like a bit more journalistic. Do you know what I mean? It just felt, you know, like I. It just felt like it could be helpful in a different way to that which I had been doing. Um,
Mhm.
so, yeah, I mean, but that's, we've obviously done a couple of interviews together, and I know it just seems like so long ago that I, made any announcements on the Mark Richards docu-series. So,
Inquiring minds wanna know. When we
yeah,
talked about setting up
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
discussion, I said, "Good," because there's a lot of people that ask me all the time, "Where's Kevin Moore? Where's his Mark Richards documentary?" You know what I mean? There are people like, "Take my money." Like, "Where can I order the DVD? Is it available on Blu-ray? Is it streaming? Give it to me."
Yeah, well, life gets in the way, doesn't it, sometimes?
Sure does.
So, with no blame on anybody, and trying to take responsibility myself, yeah.
Okay.
So a divorce, that
Mm.
will definitely cause things to come to a full stop, right?
Tell me
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
it. One of the many things we have in common.
right. And on top of that, coping with a lot of mental stress in
Sure.
that process, right? And
Yeah.
then on top of that, immigration. So I'm just at the final stage of applying for my immigration right now, which is taking a long time. Going pro se, yeah, my God, it just takes a long time. I'm not saying I've had no support with people in the background with it, but I'm just saying a lot of it's had to come from me. And one day I will tell that story. I think I will when I'm ready. But yes, November time, everything just stopped, and I'm at the end of that journey right now, and I'm about to go back into production. And because there's a cost attached to this docuseries, I've got to give it the best shot. So I'm going to go back down the road of having some actor reenactment, because I just know it's the right thing, just to do my best with it, so that, at least I can say I gave it my best. And if it sells for distribution, and I know that some people were, I said to publicly that, this is going to be free and everything else. Well, it won't be now, but what I'm doing is I'm going to be doing an ongoing podcast. So anybody that was involved in the docuseries, anybody that wants to come on the podcast, the offer's there. I've already started speaking to people about coming to do the podcast, and hopefully the podcast, will be that way of giving back to people that, won't be able to see the docuseries for free. If anyone did pay though, for some of the crowdfunding that we did, well, I did, then obviously I'll take care of that with them. But for the majority, I'm going to have to sell it now, because there's a price attached to it. So it's got to be that way. So release time, it's probably not going to be this year. It's going to be next year, but that will be at the latest, because I'm starting from scratch with the whole thing in some respects, right? So for the next few months, when I go back into production, it's actually creating the core of the documentary, and then getting the actors on board to do their thing. I'm saying 2022 because I just know how much work it's going to be to do this. It's going to be a full-time job, and I really, I have to see it through. I think completing my green card taught me the lesson of seeing things through, right?
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
There's no way to halfway green card.
Yeah. Well, no, it's a 2-year process, but
No, I know, but there's no way to halfway. What do you end up, a mauve card is worthless, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I've been, have I been through hell? Well, yeah. Have I talked about it? No. I will talk about it, but in my own time. But again, it's no victim. There's no blame. It's people learning.
Right.
Yeah. So
why don't we do this? I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but because you talked about, you said something that was very important about doing things kind of the best you can. Help us out, because I want to make sure that no one gets lost on the journey. You were nice enough, and I think you were very good to me in allowing me to elaborate and take people through what I was doing with YouTube and kind of my projects and everything. Can I help guide us through, because I want to make sure that people know. There you go. Help us out. And this is, you're going to hate this, because I know the amount of time that you spent dedicated to this project. Can you give us the elevator pitch on who Mark Richards is and what the Mark Richards story that you're covering in your docuseries is about?
Yeah, that's a good point, really. Okay. So obviously, Mark Richards is Kerry Cassidy's top whistleblower, and he's been in prison for 38 years. He was sentenced in 1984 for life without the possibility of parole. There were other circumstances within that sentence as well. It wasn't just, there was 3 circumstantial main parts of the body, to get him life without the possibility of parole. So basically what happened, he was a contractor, a local contractor, a failing contractor in Marin County, and his good friend was a guy called Richard Baldwin, and for reasons which we'll get into the documentary about, he hired a young kid called Crossan Hoover, who was 17 years old in 1982. And Mark also had many other young people in this group. One was a guy called Andrew, both 17. There was many others as well, and they would hold meetings at his home address for the idea of taking over Marin County. He was brainwashing these kids basically that they were going to, form a military, like a modern day terrorist group to take over Marin County by destroying bridges, laser guns on top of Mount Tamas Pius. It was all based on the idea of Pendragon, because Mark was obsessed with Camelot. So, Crossy, one of the 17 years old, he was going to be a duke, and Andrew was going to, whatever he was going to be, they all had different names for different parts of the county that they were going to look after. And, there was a number of other people in these Pendragon meetings. And in the end, Mark brainwashed Crossy to perform the act of killing Richard Baldwin. So on Mark's cue, Mark was stood just about 7 foot away at Mr. Baldwin's garage when Crossy Hoover baseball batted Richards to death and stabbed him with a screwdriver and knife. And then Andrew was left at the house. He ransacked the house, for money and whatever else they found. And then that same day, they brought a boat. Mark, was there buying the boat. Mark disposed of the body with Crossy and Andrew. Mark then spent on Mr. Baldwin's credit, including taking loans out, buying equipment in his names, and that's how the police traced him, which we're going to get into the documentary from a tip-off. But then when they were able to trace some of Mr. Baldwin's financials, it all led back to Mark's. They surveilled Mark's. Mr. Baldwin's body popped up because it was weighed down by a motorboat. It popped up, I think it was it popped up a number of days later because the tides were low at the time in the bay. It was weighed down by a outboard motor, and it was wrapped up in plastic. A local tugboat discovered the body, and through fingerprint identification, because his fingerprints were registered with the DVM, then he was identified, and as I say, financially it was all tied back to Mark. Then on the 16th of July, the cops arrested Mark, Andrew, and Crossy as they were on their way to the local dump with lots of paraphernalia of stuff from the murder in the back of the pickup truck. The boat was also hooked onto the Mark's pickup truck. And in Mark's original police interview, which I filmed already with actors, but we might refilm it, he basically admitted in there to disposing of the body and paying on, using Baldwin's credit, and so many other things. I mean, there was over 100 witnesses in the case, 25,000 pages of documentation. And he had no chance. I'm missing out a load of stuff here that I could say, but we'll save it for the doc because we ain't got the time. So 38 years later, he's now found through Kerry Cassidy, who was connected. She knew of the story before she started Camelot, which was so interesting because she's from the well, I don't know if she's from the Bay Area or not, but she knew of the story. It was a famous story back in the day, and Crossy was supposed to have gotten released in 2007, and he was denied release. So I spent many months with Crossy interviewing him for the docuseries. Loads of good content from him, and obviously here, Joanne Richards, Mark's wife, she's just got a new book out now, Midlife Magic, The Journey of Joanne Richards. If you want to get that hot off the press, you'll get to learn about her 7 marriages and why she does what she does. Mark calls himself a United States Navy officer, retired, well, still active, which is stolen valor. She's got it slapped all over the book and on her website as well. Just doing basic checks, like from the National Archives. Joanne Richards will say, well, it's all sealed. His records won't be there, but that there are no records because it just he never served in Vietnam, and for many reasons that I won't go into. But he was, we know where he was when he was supposed to be serving in Vietnam, and it's very sad, that well, there's money behind all this, when it comes to Mark's house. Who's going to benefit from that? Well, it'll be Joanne when he dies, and that'll be the only one that benefits from it. I guess Kerry benefited from it by grabbing onto someone like Mark Richards and exploiting him. For just for the gain of the story and the gain of views and stuff, but she's not there to look at the evidence. She's a journalist, but she's not. Don't show her the murder. But what was really interesting about this docuseries, because really put Kerry to one side right now because she's been deplatformed and everything else. Yes, she'll be in the docuseries. Is the people that she supported. So the docuseries is based on the enablers around the enablers of Mark, and also other people that Kerry's given a platform to, mostly criminals, right? She's got a bit of a hard on for that, right? So that's how Simon Parkes became involved in this, because he put a video out back in 2018, to state that he had inside intel from his own whistleblowers that Mark is a person of interest, and he's connected, and from information that Parks has gleaned, then he's able to, he was able to verify a part of Mark's story. The minute he did that, it was, right. If you're going to be an enabler of him, then great. Come on, welcome aboard. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, I emailed Simon just about a week ago now, and I just said, for those reasons he's part of the docu-series. And the next email I got from him was, well, here's my UK lawyer, and I'll be in contact with my Florida-based lawyer soon, as I'm currently in the process of taking 2 people to court right now for defamation. And I emailed him back and said, well, look, I thought you was a man of the light, come on, let's debate, let's just have that conversation about that interview, that piece to camera you did, and also some of the other stuff that I've researched about you as well. Because from the moment that you put that video out was the moment I to slowly look into him. So I know that doesn't answer everything, but that's it in the shortest way I can say it.
No, and I think, look, first of all, I mean, this is a saga, so it's very hard to do it, succinctly. But I think you did a good job. To nutshell it, basically what we need to know and understand is that gals like Carrie Cassidy and Simon Parks, who's just the game at Project Camelot is, let's all agree with each other and let's all back each other up and act as though that we've got some sort of some sort of background, some sort of special knowledge that's going to allow us to endorse these theories and concepts and these tall tales. Mark Richards is a guy who hasn't seen the outside of outside of a prison since the mid 80s, and yet he claims that he is a secret space program whistleblower, and that he can transport out of this. He leaves on the metaphysical or astral or time portal plane, leaves the prison and does sort of special missions. He's the guy that tells us that there are raptors, like in Jurassic Park, who drive sports cars. I've the tales that I've heard tells that there's raptors that drive sports cars. They like expensive watches. He's told through Carrie Cassidy has communicated to the world the existence of the dragon moths, right, and these various things. And Carrie Cassidy, who can understand and know that this stuff is true because she's been blessed with empathic abilities, because, as she claims, she's had some sort of Kundalini experience that allows her to know and understand that there's spider crab creatures that are crawling around Greece or Spain, which is why she can't give lectures there or something. And she's able to discern that Mark Richards, who hasn't seen the outside of a prison cell, has been framed as a political prisoner, that he's not in prison for being involved in murder, but is actually in prison because
I think
he's
I think what's sad as
suppressed.
well. I think what's sad as well is what Kerry and Joanne did to Richard Baldwin by ousting him as a paedophile. I remember being sat but with the detective, with my then producer, and we was at Marin College, and he was teaching now, and we talked about the accusations that Kerry made about there was child porn found at Mr. Baldwin's home, and he was like, listen, if that was found, I mean, don't you think that that would have been on some of the reports? And of course, I mean, I know that, of course. I mean, I just had to ask him. But yeah, I mean, it's just sad that having met Richard Baldwin's only surviving family member, Susan, in Maine, uninvited, of course. Unfortunately, I mean, I just had to speak to her. I was just, and she was just devastated by it, that she could do nothing legally about it, and that her brother's name was being tainted like that, when no one knows, the opposite story, because But I think it's an interesting thing with true crime meets ufology, but really as well, I want it to be a documentary right now on discernment, obviously, but also it has to be sort of a learning documentary. In some respects of what is to learn from all these people like Simon, Mark, Bill Brockbrader, Kerry Cassidy, and others that are going to be in this docu-series. Where did our internal our internal GPS system go so wrong for some people, and it's still going wrong now. For people supporters of other, people like Charlie Ward and others out there right now. You know, I think fear sells, doesn't it? But I think it's a lesson. I think we're all here to learn, and this will be my gift in the gift of just because someone says something, let's just make sure we've got all the facts in place, and try to, when the truth is so far out there and it's not so simple, maybe it's not true.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the thing that is, you almost don't know how to approach this work because there's so many of these tales and these stories that are so lacking in the even the slightest scintilla of evidentiary support. And you say to yourself, even if you're a
Yeah.
spiritualist, even if you believe in metaphysical truths, like, how are you able to accept this and not see the serious problems with it? And when we get and the real problem is this, because people can be dangerous when you get to a guy like Mark Richards and realize that his story begins with the mental manipulation of young men, telling them that there's going to be they're going to be essentially ascend to being the knights of the round table if only they help him murder some dude to take his money, and then realize that Carrie Cassidy is helping spread that image of a guy as a hero who did that to
And let me
people.
just add this: don't forget where you are. Having met people who were friends with Baldwin and other people in the documentary, and they told me, you don't understand. Yes, it may have been one small life that no one knew, wasn't small to them, but I'm just saying the bigger scheme of like people that get murdered per day, right? But it had
Mm,
massive ripple effects to so many people, and still does.
sure, absolutely. And then to know that a person who did that, and is being lionized in even just a small corner of the world is kind of shocking. And we also have to remember that this is an avenue and an entree for people like Mark Richards can get mail. Mark Richards could be contacted by people who are on their journey and on their search, who may fall under the sway of
Oh,
Carrie Cassidy's sales pitch
I'm
regarding
sure
him.
he's had many people write to him because of that.
Right,
I'm
right.
sure he has, and but yes, people could say, well, he's the small fry in this community of the problems that are out there. But to me, I saw the bigger picture of all the people that it connected from just this one man when it went to Kerry and all the others around it. Um, yeah, and these people have been an ongoing problem for a while, with no judgment there, right? It's their journey. They've got to do what they're doing, and it's up to them. But I think it would maybe just to point out, well, have you considered this? Have you looked at this? So yeah, I mean, my research right now, and I know you've done quite a bit on it as the chap as well, obviously Simon, and it's yeah, I just it surprises me just how well, I think there's a lot of love out there for him. I think there's people that probably, this is going to sound, it's hard to say. There's people out there that he's helped in some way. I bet you there is. But there's another side to Simon where he's deceiving himself, I believe. That's my opinion. Okay. And he's actually falling way below what he could be doing better, way below. Um,
I mean, look, I mean, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we rewind anyone's life script. There's a point in time where before they did things that are morally reprehensible, or before they did things that were simply bad, they were a child, or they were a young adult, or they were in formation. And we
let's
like I
start there.
said,
Let's start there. That's a good
we
point.
I love when I criticize people, I say that I love them, and it's not just a
Let's start.
pat thing to say. It's true.
Let's start there. Childhood. Now, on Miles Johnson's videos, Simon talks about having sex at 6 years old, eh, by a holographic download from his then Draco father, and he imagines the Ferrero Rocher lady. Because he's allowed to have that, his father, tells him what kind of woman do you want, and he imagines that one, and he has sex with this woman at 6 years old in his mind, and then eats her. He cannibalizes her, and it's okay because it's all in the mind. I think when things like that are said, and they're said with some substance, I think there's something much deeper going on there.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, whenever you hear these stories, I always say is that if you listen to these people's stories, you can hear the truth underneath it all. You can hear because the fiction is built on a spine of truth. And I don't mean the truth that his father was a space god, but in the truth that something weird happened with an impressionable 6-year-old child, you know, and we have to sympathize. Our heart goes out to them. You know what I mean? And we have to bear that in mind as we critique and criticize. But we also have to know that at a certain point, like we understand that many abusers of children were abused themselves. And we allow that sympathy and empathy to exist and temper our desire for a kind of old school retribution justice. But we don't for a minute think that that absolves them for their ultimate responsibility, or that they shouldn't serve, any time or punishment for the crimes that they committed. you know and we also have to remember that many people who are abused do not grow up to be abusers. So there's choices
No,
at
and
play.
these are just our opinion, right? But
Sure.
I think his childhood is very sexualized. When I look at the imagery that he draws, and the things that he puts out there in the public, and you'll have to make your own mind up on why that is, or what you think that is. But I think just starting at that point as well. So yes, so Simon worked as a Simon's dad. Maybe let's start with his dad and his mum and dad. So yes, he talks about the story of his mum dying in 1979, and that she was working with classified material with MI5, where they would come to her and they would, she would use this German typewriter and type out, classified UFO crash material. I
Right,
think
at her house.
I think if you knew anyone that was in the intelligence services, or anyone that had signed the Official Secrecy Act, I think I don't think that military or government places transfer documents from Brighton to London. I don't
Right.
think any documents
To
were
to
getting
be
out at
to
that
be
time.
typed to be typed up
Y-
in somebody's kitchen, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just that yeah. So, and obviously, he's got his grandfather, which he's publicly puts on his website, that is, his grandfather was involved in MI, was it MI, the Secret Service, MI5,
Right.
whatever it is. I mean, I don't have all my notes with me, and this is just a sort of general kind of conversation. Yes, I mean, I've looked into his father, and there are inconsistencies with the even when he tells the story that his father was going to get a knighthood from the order. And I'm looking into this, but it looks like, from what I've understood, and it's all going to, I'm just in the beginning parts of my research for some of this, but you cannot have either, I don't believe, either an OBE or CBE and get a knighthood. Okay, I just want to pause it here. Now, I'm currently editing this video with CW, and this part here where I'm talking about Simon's grandfather's awards, and a bit about his history, I'm getting it completely wrong, because I was at the very early stages at this interview point with CW of collecting my evidence, and I'd done a interview that I had re-recorded a number of things with someone else, and I'd got the research correct. So I'm going to play that clip from another video where the research is correct in what I'm talking about, and I'm going to interject it into this video so that it makes sense. And maybe I'll cut a bit out of what I said to CW, because it was just completely wrong, and I just want to acknowledge that. So I'll just press play again. So here's a picture of James Owen Marsland. Thank you for the person that gave us this picture. Highly appreciated. And yep, thank you for letting us use it. You don't see many pictures of him out there. So this is James in India working for the government as well. So on Simon Says' website, it states that James received an OBE and CBE. When looking through the London Gazette, which is the main newspaper which would publish honour awards for the Queen's honours list, as she hands them out per year, yes, when putting that name into the system, it shows a CBE and an OBE. Now, the issue that I have with James turning down the knighthood is it will not be published in the Gazette if he turned it down. So what we have to do is a Freedom of Information request, and that's easy to do, and I've put one to the Gazette, and I'm waiting to hear back as whether or not he did turn down the knighthood. The only problem we have is in 2013, when Simon Says attended a conference in Leeds, then he stated two things which were interesting. He stated that James Owen Marsland did actually receive an MBE, and here's the screen slides that he used in the presentation. Okay. He also stated in this 2013 conference that James, yes, he turned down the knighthood, but he became a companion when he accepted the CMG award, which is the Order of St. Michael. The problem with this is very few people ever received that award, and it would have been listed on the Gazette website when I typed his name in. Absolutely nothing came through. Again, this has been added to the Freedom of Information request to see if that information is true. I should mention that with James Marsland's diplomatic work with the UN, actually he was never a diplomat with the UN. If you look at his death certificate, it's got it down here where he was a United Nations representative. Okay, he was not a UN diplomat. If you go and look at the UN diplomatic past positions, he's not listed because he was never a diplomat. There's a big difference between a diplomat and a representative. And I believe it was the Alethea project that said to me, look, it's like we call our bin men nowadays in the UK engineers or technicians. It's the same thing, you know, a representative for the UN is a fancy, you know, cover up really for something a lot less, but that's still, you know, great that he did that position. It's just nothing compared to the power that a diplomatic position has. So that's the point I'm trying to make. You know, there was a story, I don't know if you've seen this or know about this, but there was on one of Miles Johnson's videos a story where a birthday card. He went into a shop in
Yes.
Whitby, and someone had, you know, used his imagery, and he had traced back where the card came from, and you know, in this video he talks about you know, never not knowing where the picture was ever taken, not remembering it, but you know, saying that there was a bear that was next to him on this picture, and that was covering someone up. And he actually went to the local paper in Whitby, and that's you know I've got that paper as well to show that the Whitby paper covered it. Basically, it was someone from his political past that was, well, maybe, he makes you feel like he, whatever he did in the past, that, this was a gunfire warning that he's getting close to the truth. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Like we said, is that sometimes it's tragic where a person can tell these fantastical tales.
Well, let me show you something.
And you can hear the story that some of this stuff is just their ability to take disparate pieces of thing. Like share the stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
But this is the stuff that people are willing to believe. This photo doesn't even look anything like him. And to hear the story that he tells with it is hysterical. I don't know what we have to do here.
I think you've just got to switch at your end.
Is this what we're doing?
Yeah, here we go. So, okay, so on the video, and I'm going to link below, the source for the video. Okay, so this is a still from the video. There's the card. It says, Sir Geoffrey was about to discover that bears don't just shit in the woods, right? Now, that does look like Simon Parks, doesn't it? Right, and
to a degree, yeah.
And he was confirmed. It was, he talks about on the video that he spoke to the publishing company of the card place, and it was all confirmed that yes, that was him, and they had every right to print it, and there was only 7 that were printed. He brought all 7 cards from the Whitby store. He doesn't mention what store because he doesn't want to get caught out, basically, and here's the problem with that, okay, Simon, is that that picture there, okay, is available on Getty Images, okay? So there's the actual picture on Getty, $4.99, okay? That's the same picture. Now, this picture, let me just get this. This picture was taken by, where is it? It was taken by Stuart Cohan. Now, this is also thanks to the Ethereum project, who has been helping me, and I've been helping them. We've been just sharing stuff. And Stuart Cohan, who has been called and has been spoken to, basically, that is not Simon Parks. The model release for this person that Simon claims was him is actually someone completely different. Okay, and this was taken. This picture was taken in America, in Fort Worth, in Texas, and the photographer of this said, he knew about this story, and he didn't really want to get involved. He said it's an absolute load of bollocks. That is not Simon Parks. And actually, when you do compare it like for like, with them next to each other, let me just make this full screen. There you go. They're not the same people. That's that picture zoomed in.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Now that picture there next to him is Simon as a counselor, a Hackney councillor in 97, 98. Okay. Now some people may say, who gives a fuck about that story? Do you know what I mean? It's just something you put in Miles Johnson. No, it's the beginning of the trail of the lies. Do you know what I mean? When
absolutely. If someone is willing to lie about something small, then how the heck? I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, you don't know whether that Corey or Simon or Mark or Carrie is a liar. And then it's like, okay, well, but then when you find them lying about something as silly and ridiculous as this, or being taken to a power plant as part of a tour, or
we're going to get into that. No, we're going to get into that. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah, I mean,
don't want to jump the gun.
That's not been digitally altered. That's the picture zoomed in next to an actual picture that was on Miles Johnson's video, and it's not true. It is not true. Now, Simon, how do you answer that? I mean, you should want to, make comment on this. I mean, there's nothing to say really, except, and it's okay to say you lied. It's okay to say, I'm sorry. I hands up, something's wrong there. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think that's a possibility. What do you think? I'll dream.
Well, I mean, and the funny thing is, because there's something that we do on my channel, me and the friends and family and the live chat and the subscribers, there's a ton of people that I resemble. I got long hair, I'm a little bit chubby, and I got a long beard. So if you go onto Twitter and you follow me on Twitter, people are constantly posting pictures of, just today, my friend Jerry posted a photo of some Jesus Christ looking guy setting a Molotov cocktail off in South Africa. And underneath it's the caption, what is C.W Chanter doing in South Africa? And people find me all over the place. I look like every other Orthodox, priest. Yep. It's just incredible. So but it's his ability to look at this photo. So with Simon, you have to ask this question. It's like when he looks at this photo and says to his wife, what am I doing on this birthday card? It's like, do you think that that's you?
Yeah.
Do you not have the ability to recognize yourself?
Yeah.
But really what it is this need to create some sort of wackadoo story, to have something to move and something to sell.
And his people that love him and don't want to hear this type of thing will say, well, that's just one mistake. Let it go. It's just one mistake. But it's not just one mistake. It actually hit the Whitby papers. Yes, it may just be in the UK, but he took it to the papers. Now the papers have been spoken to, and they don't want to know nothing about it. They're like, you know what? yeah, it's done now. You know, we'd rather move on. They don't want to know that, because the guy that's on the you know, that's not Simon. You know, there's been a model release form signed by the photographer. You know, it had to be to take the picture. You know, and to put it on Getty. So it's not
Sure.
Simon. You know, so
No, yeah,
yeah,
not.
yeah.
And this also this raises another interesting point, is that about Simon Parks, which is very unique, is that Simon is no stranger to a kind of public limelight. He's been featured in numerous news magazines, and he was featured in this BBC documentary that Miles Johnson and the Amash project that he was working with at the time actually had a hand in.
Well,
And if you look at this, it's BBC basically making fun of him, and yet he's got fans. When in the public eye, they act as though if Simon Parks is the nobody, why is he on this magazine? Why was he in that newspaper or that documentary film? And it's like, don't you realize that those pieces were mocking him for having sex with Cat Queen, for saying that his mother was a mantid, whatever?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, and it was a great find to find this. You know,
Sure.
and
Yeah, absolutely.
massive
But
thanks,
sure.
massive thanks to the Ethereum project for their help as well. And I know I've been, you know, been a help to them as well. So this takes time. You know, this takes time to as a slow process. Now, oh, okay. I'll just mention this as well. It's interesting on this talk show recently on the Right Side with Doug Billings. Simon's now talking about the millions of dollars that he's raising to take connecting consciousness to the US, and you
Yeah.
know, he's talking about almost 50 centers, like he's kind of, you know,
The
what,
med
yeah.
beds and the whole nine.
Yeah, well, 50
Absolutely.
centers across America. You know, I
Sure.
mean,
Dream
you'd
big.
need like $25 million to do something like that. But what was
How
interesting,
about, yeah,
what was interesting,
you need licensing, and you need a med
yeah,
bed to
yeah.
be real
Well,
as well,
you'd need
right?
the well, you'd need you'd need the licensing, definitely. And what was, you know, it's he talks about in this show about buying property, investing in property, and I just couldn't help but think, oh my God, if I look at Simon and L. Ron Hubbard as my opinion, there's some similarities here. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean?
it's an old playbook. I mean, it's first of all, it's fake it till you make it. On my channel, we did just a little bit of slight investigative journalism in real time, and realized that obviously someone associated with Simon Parks was buying up Indian YouTube sites with channels with huge backlogs of subscribers, and we're hijacking them and turning them into little Simon Parks channels, starting off with 100,000 subscribers, whatever the case may be. It's fake it till you make it, and we've watched his videos and done an analysis of the things that he's saying. And look, I mean, you have to realize something about Simon Parks. The great thing about Simon Parks is the biggest thing about him was that he was a triune soul starseed, one third Hobbit, one third Mantid, one third Palladian or whatever. His mother was a Mantid alien. His father was
Mm,
Anu, the space god,
mm.
right? And that was his background, and having sex with Cat Queen, the alien, and all this jazz. And then all of a sudden, the whole BALDWIN movement blew up with Donald Trump. And now all
Yes.
of a sudden, he's a right wing guy, and all those stories about him being an alien contactee, whatever, those aren't talked about anymore. And now the big mother is not the mantid alien on the supernatural side. It's this birth mother who's now been transformed into an MI5 super spy. You know what I mean,
Yeah,
or what have you.
I think you're talking about what statement does he? Yes, that's right. It was the statement. Oh well, actually, here it is. Yeah, one the statements on his website. Yeah, just bring this up. Um, so let's just if I can just, if my laptop will load, or maybe it has. Here we
No.
go. Yeah, it's a bit slow. Okay, so yeah, so this is a screenshot from a bit of time ago. Yeah, okay, so let's just go straight to this. You know, this is a defining moment for Simon as well. In 2013, it was to be a game changer when Simon was invited by the British Military of Defence, the MOD, to join a small party being given a tour of a secret space radar based in the UK. This totally confused the established media and has led to a far more serious appraisal of Simon's story than, yeah. So Simon has assisted a growing number of. Okay, let's just stick with the Ministry of Defense thing, right? So there's a call then made to the Ministry of Defense at RAF Fylingdales, and hey ho, they've actually got a they have visitors, schools and visitors that once it's can be arranged to come. Not to look at the sensitive parts of the base, but they do tours. It's something they do for the school kids and for select groups of people that want to tour the base. And there is someone on there that absolutely remembers Simon Parkes coming into the base, and it's all documented because it has to be. No one could just walk in the base, even if you are visiting, right? It's documented
Right.
with whatever documentation they needed from him. And I'm just waiting for a statement to come from Fylingdales to confirm that he was on one of the tours. But there was nothing secretive that was given on that tour.
No, yeah, I mean, like you can understand, deconstructing this guy's BS is not hard. So we know that he was a councilman, and he acts as though that means that he was part of elected government. Being a councilman, even for a city, is like being dog catcher. It's not like you're the mayor. It's certainly not like you're the mayor of London or any sort of
No, you're
or a
not even a member of
senator,
parliament. You're just,
right, or a member
yeah.
of parliament or
I mean,
anything.
it's a worthwhile
You're a
job.
local
It's a
functionary.
good job. I mean, they obviously do.
Yeah, no,
provide
they
a
have
service.
but you and I both know that it's not as though,
No,
you're not going to pick up any ladies on the streets of London by telling them that you're the friggin' councilman from fucking Whitby or whatever, right? That's not, you know what I mean?
I'll
That's something you're going to have to save for the over 50 set, right? After a
yeah,
couple of pints. That'll be a
yeah.
closer that might work at the senior citizen home. Councilman at Whitby, eh? You know, but like it is what it is. So I knew, like when he told this story, he basically tells the stories that as a member of government, he was brought to an inspection and of the military base there,
Yeah.
and then he says that they showed a picture of the USS Enterprise, and they obviously were making a joke. They were like, this is probably what you think we do here, but the reality is much more mundane. And he turns that into,
Well,
so I was brought for a secret council meeting. They
mhm.
were talking on two levels, right? One to the people that were just there, and then one special meaning to me.
Yeah,
And when they flashed the USS Enterprise, that was
yeah,
a secret cue to me.
yeah.
We know what you're up to, Simon. You better watch out. You're getting too close to the truth. We'll enterprise you, mate. Whatever you know
That's
what
not
I
bad,
mean?
though.
It's
That's
like
good.
nuts.
Well, do you know what?
It's
Do you know
nuts.
what's funny about this? Now a call's been made to this base, and we are talking. They're actually going to give a statement, and they
Nice.
actually knew about this issue because it had been reported to board them before. And when it had been reported before, they'd actually went and found one of the people that was on duty at the time that was part of looking after that group, and it was confirmed. It's confirmed, but it's unconfirmed in writing right now that yes, he came in, yes, he was part of the tour, but are you crazy to think that tour deviates to secret parts of the base? And that's the statement I'm
Yeah.
after. Yeah, it was just a normal
for
tour.
you.
That's all it was.
Sure it was.
So
Yeah, absolutely. I've been on the USS Intrepid. Everyone can. It's a fucking floating
yeah,
fucking museum.
yeah,
Sorry for my
yeah.
language, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's bits and pieces, little bits by little bits that just take time and everything else. So that's interesting. And okay, let's just try to bring up this one. Oh gosh, where are we? If this is the right one. And again, I've traced this time in the council. When we might touch upon that. No, that's the wrong one. Just try one more thing. Otherwise, I'll just move on to something else. CW. It must be. Is there that one? I think there's there's still more research to do when it comes to his grandfather, but yeah, I can't say too much, I guess. Yes. What he says about his grandfather is just not true, right? Let me just put it that way.
No way.
And yeah, I know, right? Shock horror. And I'm speaking to people that actually knew people that knew this man, and they're just a bit disappointed that this is being said, but it's a free world in a sense. Um, yeah, yeah. His grandfather did work for did some stuff for the UN, okay, but it wasn't, this sort of secret spy stuff. That
Right.
is not true. And his mother as well. I mean, I've got the death certificate of his mum, and yeah, she died fairly young, unfortunately, but she just died of normal causes. To say that his mum was murdered, well, it doesn't say murder in the death certificate. Now, it's an official document, and it just can't be changed. Do you know what I mean? It's not a cover up. It's just is what it is. It's a true document, and yeah, mum died of probably smoking by the look of it, from some of the
Right.
causes. His father as well is an interesting thing, because he talks about, because he had a lot of interviews, Simon did, in Germany of all places, and he talks about on some of these German websites how his father disappeared as soon as they arrived back from Africa, and because they came back on a boat back in the day, back in '59, and his father never disappeared. As far as I'm aware, his father died in 2001. And if that is the case, and I've got his father's death certificate coming to me, and if that is the right man I've got, then on every marriage certificate that I've got for Simon, he puts his father down as deceased. And if that's the same man, why would you do that? Um, Interesting. Yeah, I'm going to ask Simon.
Yeah.
I've tried to ask him, but he doesn't want to talk. He just wants to send the lawyers to me. So, which is fine. Like, he's got a right to do that. Do you know what I mean? But this is only all based on fact. This isn't, defamation. This is actually based on, actual, actual, yeah, factual documents.
Research. Yeah. No, I mean, look, I mean, I mean, it is what it is. These people want to play these, barroom lying games, but I don't think they do the calculation to realize that when those barroom lying games hit the internet, that they're gonna be shown for the tissue paper lies that they are.
Yeah, yeah,
And it says something to be willing to, bring your dead mom and dad into
I think
the
so. Yeah,
storyline.
yeah. That is, when you think of it from that perspective, that is,
Yeah,
there's no words for that, really.
right.
There's no words for that.
And I mean, it's like, this is what I say. It's like there's certain people that you're going to experience in this community who are going to have a tale or a story that you might think of as being the product of some sort of underlining, mental illness or disorder. And there's some people that you're just going to think are lovable losers and liars. They think they have a smaller, sad life. So for whatever reason, they concoct this much larger life to try and impress people with. And then there's people that seem to be kind of, manipulators and taking advantage of people. And that's when kind of people go from one category that you just kind of either dismiss, or you sympathize with, or you're empathetic towards, and then turn into somebody's that you feel as though you have to speak about. I mean, like, even this thing with giving, running flack for Kerry Cassidy and Mark Richards. I mean, you are
Yeah,
helping to deceive people. You know what I mean? Actively deceive people. Because look, the fact of the matter is, of course, Simon Parks is not connected to anyone in the Knights Templar. I mean, Simon Parks has claimed in the public view that he knew the guy that was a liaison between Buanon and Donald Trump himself. Well, we know that Buanon is not a real thing. I mean, that whole thing has been debunked. So we know that Simon Parks to this day is still out here. Like, as of a couple of days ago, he's out here with Sasha Stone, still acting like, oh, Donald Trump is going to go back into the White House, and Joe Biden is a holographic clone that's on the Castle Rock studio. It's just he's saying a whole bunch of malarkey. And at that point, when you realize the damage that the whole BooAnon movement has done to people's lives, and
yeah,
that's people have blood on their hands now thanks to the
yeah,
would be
yeah.
revolution.
Who would have ever thought that would have ever got to the mainstream like it did. I didn't think it was going to end
Yeah,
up like that ever, right? I mean, I was here when the
sure.
Capitol riots happened. I remember the people in the building, the Americans around me. They were scared, and not scared. They were just like, "What the fuck is going on?" Do you know what I mean? And I mean, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, it was crazy watching it on TV, right? And to see that, the things he was saying around that time, which were just not good for people with problems with mental health who maybe would come from
no,
a dark space
no,
with that. Do you know what I mean? That's not
yeah,
and that's his sole journey to think to himself, why am I doing this? Can I self-realize? Am I able to come from a better space and realize what I'm doing to others? That this is not coming because he obviously, we're dark, he's spiritual, but
sure he is.
where is the
Sure he
integrity
is.
in lies? Where is the being your best self by putting out misinformation? But then I'll say this as well, and this is all just my opinion. As I said earlier on in this conversation, is it consciously or unconsciously done, or a mixture of both? I'm not
Oh, I mean, yeah,
making
I have my opinion, and if I share my opinion, it's my opinion, and my opinion is that he knows that guys like him and Corey know exactly what they're doing. They know that they didn't have these experiences. They know that they're not. They know that it's fantasy, probably for the large part, but they're going with it. And now, unfortunately, I think a lot of these people have hitched their dreams to a falling star in Donald Trump and the whole BALDWIN movement. And now look what Simon Parks is going to do. And the other thing about deceiving people is if you were an alien contactee starseed from day one to day 101, what the heck are you doing on day 102 with a new audience of BALDWIN, Donald Trump, Patriot believers, and not affirmatively telling them consistently and constantly, FYI, and in case you're curious, the reason that there's a background for me to be a so-called expert in military intelligence or the conspiracy or the cabal or the actions of the Illuminati is because my mother was a mantid alien and my father was Anu the space god, and I've got a 3-part soul with 12-strand crystalline DNA. And the reason he doesn't is because he knows that the evangelical Christians that make up the majority of that whole BALDWIN set would go, "You believe what?" and wouldn't join up or wouldn't be involved.
mm, mm.
And when you have that sort of secret doctrine, when you have that sort of transformation, not only do you have deception, but you have the makings. You mentioned L. Ron Hubbard. You have the makings of something,
Well,
far more
this is where I'm seeing it
potentially
going. Yeah,
grievous.
yeah, because
Yeah,
there's patterns that are like so similar here. And then the talk of property and everything else, the investment into property centers across the US. I'm like, where have I heard this before? What movie?
yeah.
Yeah. What we're seeing on the screen right now is, now Simon doesn't talk about this, but this is his 2000 disqualification as a Labour councillor. Now, it may be that he was disqualified for not attending the meetings as he should have been. He ran from 92 to, I believe it was 2000. Yeah, 2000. Now, I'm in contact with the archives at Hackney, and they're digging out all the council meetings, and they're digging out all the papers related to dates that I've given them specifically for this. And it may just be very innocent that, he missed some meetings and he was disqualified, right? But it's still worth looking into because he never mentioned ever that he was disqualified. It's okay to be disqualified if you make a mistake. None of us are fucking perfect. But to act as though it never happened, and it was only when I was checking out websites that I saw the disqualification. Then I found the Labour original material to show his disqualification, and then it's been confirmed that it's in the Hackney archives right now, and no one can change those minutes. Whatever is going to be the results of what's going to be said in those minutes, even if it is just I missed too many meetings, it's going to come out in the end. The truth always comes out. You can't
Yeah,
hide
but
from your past.
yeah, but they don't care because the fact of the matter is that if they are able to sell these people what they've sold them so far, it's so easy for them to just go, "Oh, those documents that scurrilous COINTELPRO plant Kevin Moore produced with that fat cabal Israeli Jew C.W. Chanter. Oh, those are mocked up documents. They planted those documents, don't you see?
Oh yeah,
There's a
yeah,
direct.
yeah,
Why would they make?
yeah,
Hey, listen,
yeah.
Kevin. Why would we make a directed as cabal agents?
Well,
As part of the
he,
communist, homosexual, transgender, agenda. Why would we, in our attempts to make robot people out of soulless babies, why would we do this protracted attack on the likes of Simon and Corey, but for the fact that they were telling the truth,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Except the opposite in Bizarro
This
land,
is
right? Whatever.
this is Simon's path, and he's entitled, if he feels like he's being the victim right now, he's entitled to feel that way. And it's up to him whether he wants to address this or not. It's all his rights. That's his journey. I'm not going to question it. It's for him to continue what he's doing, or to, at some point just rethink. But I think all this is the seeing through of the Mark Richards docuseries, and just doing the best job I can at doing that, and not being cruel with it. This isn't about, being cruel to anyone. It might feel cruel to some people, but it's not. It's not done with, he is, he is as he's got as many issues as we've all got in different ways, right? We just don't want to own that sometimes, right? So this ain't about, oh, you bad person, you evil man. It's just about, as I said before, let's just try to, show the story as it is, or, try to hold him back into integrity. And it would be very interesting to see what his. I don't think he would ever respond, even if I wrote to him and said, look, I found all this evidence,
No,
could you give me
no,
a
no, no, no,
response to
no,
it? Yeah. So
no. Of course not. Listen, there's never
I know
going
I
to
know
be
what his
an
response would
active
be right now.
communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, the active response is your COINTELPRO shill, and I'll sue you.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, look, I mean, the fact of the matter is this, is that there's never going to be a dialogue or a debate, because a dialogue and debate doesn't serve their agenda. I mean, because why bother? Why bother when you can just, preach to the choir? And if he loses 90% of his audience, but 10% of the audience remains, to give him some small tithe or
Well,
pay
actually,
for
that's a
his
good
star
point. That's a
seed
good point.
things, you know?
If you know how to look at the traffic on his website, you'll see that he's lost a hell of a lot of traffic recently. There's been a lot of traffic
Sure.
lost to his website, with maybe, the process, the journey that he's been on, recently as well. And of course he's fighting this public court case right now. It's out there. Anyone can find it. I mean, I've got the paperwork to it. And what do I feel? As a person that's supposed to be integral with spirituality, suing people and, trying to make, well, it's my opinion that he would, not only want to get back his lawyer's fee of 45,000 plus, but, he wants to, just to get something on top of that, which is probably 70,000 plus GPP that he's asking for. And where did, is it right that someone puts a video out that that would harm him? But at the same time, would there have been another way that he could have dealt with this issue rather than friggin' suing?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, these people are going to say that they're trying to help people get away from the third dimension BS thinking and get to the 5D love and light. There's nothing love and light about filing a lawsuit. Like the guy that sued me, Corey Good, loves to have this expression that he thinks sounds really slick, and it's Zen ends where ass kicking begins. And he thinks it sounds like a real tough guy. We're not going to take it anymore kind of line, but it's a true statement. You're absolutely right. Zen ends where ass kicking begins. But I thought we were supposed to be, according to the Blue Avians, high vibration to each other and not mess with this stuff. But hey, brother, look, it's malarkey, and there's nothing high vibration about suing people. It's
No.
all right out of the L. Ron Hubbard playbook.
Yeah.
I'm going to sue you. I'll bring even frivolous lawsuits against you in order to just shut you down or shut you up.
Well,
and let's face it, the guys that are suing him because they went on a tear when it's alleged that Simon Parks, kind of abused their women. That's my understanding.
it's alleged, and I've met many women with alleged stories on on Simon, and it's for them to tell their stories. I would never
Right.
tell their stories unless they wanted to tell, and unless they could back it up with some proof that that they can coordinate some parts of it, but they were all threatened with being sued if they ever talked. They've all told me that, but that's you know that's what they've told me. I mean, is it true or
Right.
not? I think my opinion is it is, because they came over quite genuine. But will those stories ever see the day of light? At this stage, no. And do you know what? I think some of these women as well. I've got to come to the point where and I know this is going to sound awful, but they've got to see what lessons they've learned from it as well. Um, you know, that's tough me saying that, I know, but yeah, and I think for some of them, he scares them.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, we've covered even small fries like guys like Jay Essex, and it's a very common theme for people to say that they'll start dreaming about these people, and the fact that they're dreaming about these people is exploited to say that's an evidence of my ability to get you on the astral or whatever. And people find these teachers and these spiritual people at various points in their life, oftentimes in very desperate parts of their lives. People tend not to go to mediums to talk to the dead on a whim. They tend to go when they're grief stricken. People tend not to go on these soul journeys to get a starseed life reading to find out the truth of their
if
identity
if
unless they're feeling
if I had one of my,
disaffected.
yeah, exactly. But if I had one of my readers, because I am looking at launching a reader site, and I'm still thinking about it and considering it. But if I do, and I had one of my readers abusing their power, they're off. Do you know what I mean? I don't,
Right.
there's got to be those standards and everything else. I mean, it's a very fine line, but I think that people like this have gone completely over that line, and but if people want to believe them, not believe them, but if they see value in what they're putting out and they're getting something from it, and that's their journey. That's their
And
journey.
it's hard to. My attitude about it is that people have their own individual journey, and it's their world to explore. If they explore things that turn out to be bad, if that you can't, to me, there's an expression, the gift of the bruised knee. And what it means is that, you want to protect your kids from all the harms of the world.
Hmm.
They're never going to learn anything about life. Life is
Yeah.
an experiential journey, and you got to go through some things. You just hope. My attitude about it is that I do the work that I do, and I say the things that I say. And even this interview here and we talk about Simon is not to say no one has the right to look at Simon. It's to say, if we're going to talk about Simon, if you're going to explore Simon and his work and contact him or work with him, hear both sides of the story. Here's some alternative points of view
Based on
so that
facts.
you have the best facts necessary to make your ultimate decisions and calculations about these people. And you mentioned readers, and we've talked, and we actually, the way that we met is through a beautiful soul who's no longer with us on planet Earth, named
Oh
Hank Jones.
yes,
Right
Hank. Yes.
now, Hank Jones now knew that I, as a skeptic, was very interested in reaching out to me, and he gave me a free kind of past life regression hypnosis
Yeah.
session.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And it went on for he spent 5 hours with me
Mm.
in the session. Um, didn't charge me a dime because and I had a very unique, interesting experience. Now, what does it mean? Did I see what was in my mind? What was the thing? It was the nearest I could tell you is that it was it was one of the most important psychedelic experiences I've ever had, and didn't involve any drugs at all. I mean, it was a trip, man. I mean, I don't know what it means or what it's about, but I know it was a trip. So there's stuff that's out there. But having said that, guys, even like whether we're talking about a guy like we love, like Hank, or we're talking about a guy that we're skeptical about, like Simon, the one real dangerous thing is that these guys and gals end up being put into a position that is very similar to a mental health counselor, but they don't have the training, and they don't have the training for themselves. Even when I became a lawyer, there was a huge percentage of the teaching that went into becoming a lawyer in regards to ethics that was like, don't let this go to your head. And your ultimate responsibility is to look out for people. And it was absolutely, you don't have sex with the clients. You don't have romantic relationships with people who are your clients. It's not ethical. It's not proper. And anyone who becomes a mental health professional, even something as potentially small potatoes as a licensed drug and alcohol counselor in the United States,
Hmm.
you don't do anything romantic with the clientele. It's not
Yeah.
appropriate. But if you become a tarot card reader or QHHT regressionist or whatever, you don't necessarily get that treatment. You don't necessarily get
I
informed about
agree.
that.
I agree with you there completely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what appears to have happened. Not just in with the person that we've been discussing, but other people out there as well. And but I think when someone's coming to you at a very low mental, well, with problematic mental issues, um, I don't think you're helping them by, jumping into bed with them. And I think that there's much more to it than that. Yeah, I just can't say a lot. Yeah, but
You got to
yeah,
be circumspect. Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
You got. We don't want to say anything until you have it
Oh,
verified and researched. And
yeah, yeah, and there's more to come from this, and
sure,
so yeah, just one person takes a long time. There's a number of people that that's I'm still going to go back to working on just for this doc, and I look forward to seeing the back of it. But I also at the same time I'm looking forward to doing it and completing it. So it's not my most favorite thing, but I think I've had to be at peace with myself as from my own truth, like I've explained to you, of no one's perfect, and nor are we, and to come from it from a different space, and that's put me at a lot of ease actually doing it from that perspective, and knowing that, well, if I just help one person, job done.
yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah,
look, we're approaching the 2 hour
I
mark. I
know, I
think
can't believe
we
that.
better wrap it up
Yeah,
because of what that's good conversation. That's good conversation. What I like to do here, and I know that you're contemplating a project with readers. I got my handy dandy tarot cards
let's
out
do
here.
it,
We
bro.
mentioned Hank
That's
Jones,
a good idea.
lovely soul. Listen, check out his YouTube channel. He's got many sessions. He's got the sessions with me that are up there. You'll get to see C.W. Chanter lying down in a
I'll link that as well.
lounge in
Yeah.
a friggin' you know um, folding chair, lying back, Chase Lounge style,
I
seeing aliens in a cosmic hotel, and
Yeah.
traveling back to like old Norse whatever, and I get shot, and there's a baby that I save, and then I go to the Akashic Records, which to me looked like a friggin' public library. It's a trip, man.
Can I just
That shit's some
yeah,
trip.
let me I know I shouldn't, it's time to go soon, but let me just add this. I also got a session with him when I was in Amsterdam, and in Holland. And you
Right.
know what? I never had such an impactful session from anybody but his session. And when I first went into the session, I was like, oh, I just don't want to do this. Do you know what I mean? I've got so much to do. And oh my God, mate, I tell you what, coming out of that
No, it
session
was
with him,
nuts.
I couldn't even remember, but he said to me, I remember him saying to me, oh my God, the International Spiritual News Network, that's a great idea. I was like, well, that sounds like a good name. What's that? He's like, well, you just gave it to me. I couldn't remember. Now, when I listened back to the tape, I remembered everything, but
Mm.
I never went that deep before. So yeah,
No, yeah,
yeah,
no, he
thanks for
got you. So,
mentioning him.
and yeah, yeah, no. Hank Jones. People don't know Hank Jones was great. He's no longer with us on planet Earth. He went rogue from the
Yeah,
Dolores
he
Cannon
did. Yeah, that's right.
QHHT school.
Yeah.
He was like, he called himself he was like, "Are you a renegade child of light?" And that was like a lot of the whole informed thing.
Yeah.
And he did some great work with me, and I still, I mean, to the degree, like I said, I don't know what this stuff means. I consider him, we talk about spirit guides and shit. I consider the minute he passed, I was like, oh, I guess he's my spirit guide now, one of my spirit guides now. And is that me hero worshiping? Is that me making something of my imagination or mourning in some way? I don't
Mm,
know or care.
mm, mm.
He was a good dude.
He was, man. Yeah, peace
He
to
was
him.
a good dude. It Hank, and if he didn't, it says, "Where's the past regression channel?" Hank Jones the third. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see that channel linked as one of my featured channels. So that's where you can find it. So what I do here at the end, Kevin, is I pull one tarot card for the show. But we're not only going to do that. What I'm going to do for you, and this is not me pitching myself to your commercial
That's funny.
project.
That's funny.
We're going to do three cards, and the
Okay,
three
bro. Yeah.
cards are going to be for me. You. It's not necessarily for me, one for you, one for the documentary. It's not necessarily one for us, one for the live chat, one for Simon Parks. It's just three cards that we're going to take, and we're going to see what we think that they say and
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
picking them up at random. Here we go. Here we go. I shuffle to the left. I shuffle to the right. I go in. I go in. What we may, what we might. And we're going to look at them one at a time. And we're going to see what the story tells. We're going to see what goes on. We're going to free associate. We're going to make it quick because we got to get out of here, but we'll make it beautiful. First card, the sun. Woo! Who could ask for anything more? Say what you want. Here's what I take from this. We are true in our intention. When we say that we're trying to do the best thing possible, when we say that we're trying to do the best thing possible, we are honest and integral to that goal. We may be wrong, we may be mistaken in some of the steps that we take, but our guidance and our guides are true, and we're true to our word. We're not trying to be deceptive or dishonest. And if we were, the great thing is we talk about discernment. Discernment is not owned by our side. Discernment is not owned by any other perceived side, because we're all on the same side, all living things in the universe. We're all in the same friggin', we're all in this together, baby. The truth, the light of the sun, the sunlight is the cleanser. The truth will out. Those who are deceiving themselves or others, don't worry, because it will all come to light for the benefit of everybody. You may be discovered as a liar and you may find some feeling of shame in that, but at the end, that shame is the gateway to healing. Card number 2. What do we got? What do we got? The Emperor. We engage in this and we talked about this. We talked about shadow selves and shadow sides, and a lot of this stuff, this looking through people's past, they're looking through their history, discussing things. But a lot of this comes down to one of the central themes is power, the power of certain people over other people. Be careful. If you live under the right emperor, the land grows and flourishes. Under the wrong emperor, you live and exist in a totalitarian state. And let's face it, the face of the emperor in many ways is put forward as a proxy or a representation of the sun, but it's not the sun. It's a fallible human being. We're fallible human beings, and we better be careful ourselves when we start to play emperor, right? Here we go. Last one up. Oh, here we go. We can't get away from the phalluses. Ace of Rods. Now, if we were playing games and saying, well, gee, maybe there's a kind of phalliocentric spirit here, the universe speaks to us and says, you're dancing around here. Maybe you're the emperor. Maybe this has to do with machismo, male. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get to the bottom of this private eye type of stuff. Well, here we go. The Ace of Rods right there, gentlemen, in case you're fooling or deceiving yourselves. But at the same time, the Ace of Rods, that raw primal solar energy pumping throughout the universe. Without it and its potential mistakes, it can blow down a lot of comets, can hit a lot of planets on their way hurtling through the universe. But in that way, maybe life gets spread, maybe moons and planets get put into the right orbit so that life can begin. You can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs, and you can't make a baby without the Ace of Rods. You know what I mean? It's just the way that it goes, baby. But like these other things, remember, it can help, it can hurt, it can help. It's really all about, making sure we're in proper alignment. So there you go. 3 dudes, you, me, and Simon, you, me, and Corey. We're all playing it out. You mentioned it yourself when you said, "Hey," you hinted at it, and I told you that I had resonance there. This notion of like aren't we on this journey together? And what are we going to make of the fact of what is this Mark Richards represents to me? What is this about? Why am I not letting this go? Why is this becoming a focus point? And also learning, are you fighting? Are you in the martial art arena experiencing martial arts, or are you trying to win a game? Are you debating because you want to get at the truth, or are you debating because you want to win the debate? You know what I mean? Some serious questions there to be asked.
Yeah.
So there you
Powerful that is. Thank you for doing that. Yeah. Interesting.
Hey, listen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There you go. That'll be $17.95.
No
you can
problem.
pay me by putting out the docuseries. soon.
Yeah. Venmo, yeah. I'll transfer.
There you go. Get it, and remember, you know what I mean? Like, be careful of the ever expanding project. You know what I mean?
No. This is
taking.
Yeah,
This is it. This time.
Is it this time, man.
For real, see?
Yeah, I'm not going to say.
You're done cheating and running around? This time you're going to be true?
I couldn't even dream of adding more to it. I just know now I've got the one chance now to do the best I can, and I'm going to do that.
Well, I got faith in you. I think you're going to do great. You got my endorsement. People, when I was going to do this interview with you, there were some, I've got some I play around here on Team Skeptic. There were plenty of people that's going to be a softball interview. He's going to let him get away with everything. Nah, we were true and honest with each other.
I think so.
And we left it all out there in the griddle.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from this.
That's it. So, that's it, brother.
Yeah, from this whole process, trust me. It's only so
it's an alchemical process. We come out different in the end.
We damn well do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are we going to light on fire? Are we going to come out like the Phoenix? You got to get that combination just right.
Well, and it's about being kind as well.
Yeah. Oh, certainly. Yeah. And we, like I said, and you know what I mean? Sometimes kindness is, when I was associated with the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, they were very popular of telling this anecdote. And it goes something like this. They go, sometimes people criticize us because we tell them not to engage in illicit sex, not to eat meat, not to gamble, and not to take intoxicants. So people think that that's a real bum thing to do to people, to preach at them or to say that they're sinning or wrong. And they go, but is it a mother's love to let a child touch a burning stove? No, the mother will smack the hand away and say, you cannot do that.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just thoughts, just thoughts.
No, it's in, yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's no pat or easy answers.
I really appreciated sharing this time with you. Let me just say that as well, and your audience. Even though I've not seen any of the live comments, I'm sorry that there must have been a few questions there.
Thank God you did it.
Yeah, probably,
they hate you. No, I'm teasing. Yeah, they love you. Some of them love you, some of them hate you.
Yeah, it's all good.
Some of them don't quite know what they think yet.
No, do you know what? I've just if you're unsure, do you know what? It's just about completing a project, and what I'm going to do after that, I don't know. But yeah, I think the one thing I learned from this is just to come from the right space, and that's the best way to do this. And
the only way to do it.
So thank you for doing this with us. I appreciate you pushing me to do this.
Listen, thank you for being here with me. You know what I mean? So anyway, so we're going to wrap up the show. Here's what I say, and you feel free to join in with me. What I say to the audience when I leave is I say, I love you, I love you, I love you. If nobody told you they loved you today, somebody just did. That somebody C.W. Chanter. And what we can do, if you want to, you're invited, you don't have to, is that we could say, we love you, we love you, we love you. If nobody told you that they loved you today, we did. And we are us.
Absolutely.
Or something to that effect. You want to do it?
Yeah.
Count of three?
Yeah.
Let's do it. 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4.
We love you. We love you. We love you.
If
no one told you that today,
that they love you today, somebody just did, and that somebody is
Kevin Moore and C.W. Chanter.
It's like the happy birthday song when you get to the end, and some people want to call her mom, some people want to call her grandma, and some people want to call her Estelle. Yeah. Happy birthday to you, dear Estelle, grandma, mom.
No, it feels good to do that, bro. It is love. There is only love here,
That's
man.
Love in the room.
Life's too short. Life's too short.
So, it is. We'll see you folks
later,
brother. Okay? Bye-bye.